Welcome to the official podcast of FOR ETERNIA.com. We have the power. I'm your host, AJ, aka Voodoo Magic, aka Zor. And today's episode is titled The Masterpieces of Masterverse, a title that encapsulates and celebrates the glorious artwork that Masters of the Universe fans have been treated to on the packaging of every release from the collectible Masterverse action figure line since its launch in June 2021. And today we are going to discuss the genesis of these spectacular illustrations with the fantastic artist who has been there since the beginning, since day one, since wave one. A talent who has been treating our eyes and toy shelves to a cornucopia of visual Masters of the Universe delights. And that man is Eamon O'Donoghue. So, Eamon, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on, AJ. Cornucopia, no less. It's a cornucopia. Call me Captain.
That's a $5 word.
It is.
So this podcast took a while for us to put together, and I quickly realized how incredibly busy Eamon is, and I began to frankly marvel at all the things he had on his plate. Not only is Eamon an incredible freelance artist, but he's a toy geek. He's a Masters of the Universe fan, a toy designer, a toy reviewer, the podcast host of, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 podcasts, Battlecast and the Hot Toy Cast. Just one now, the Hot Toy Cast? Okay. How do you manage it all, Eamon?
I don't. I burst at the seams. I freak out, bounce off the walls. To be honest, you just do, don't you? You get a job like Masters of the Universe, painting these characters, these Masters of the Universe characters. They're a joy to paint. And many faces, Ram-Man, Buzz-Off, or whoever, He-Man, Skeletor. I genuinely love painting these characters. I like drawing in general. All artists, we all enjoy drawing, but sometimes it feels like a job. Other times it doesn't. It feels like I'm just doing my hobby and getting paid for it. Well, the latter is certainly true when it comes to Masters. That I'll probably be drawing this stuff anyway, but to be actually getting paid for it then and actually making a living and to pay the rent with it it's a privilege, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, I know on your Hot Toy Cast podcast that you're a big fan of 6 scale figures. Now, personally, I've never been a big collector of the high-end 6 scale figure due to limited space and limited expendable cash.
All right.
So first, I just want to say how much I appreciate you lowering your standards and slumming around today with this low-scale 7-inch figure fan. My heart is in 7-inch figures. Is it?
My heart's yeah. Oh, absolutely. What makes me happiest the most is getting a bunch of 7-inch figures, and be they a Masters of the Universe or be they a Mythic Legion. That excites me. Saying that, I got a Wonder Woman just this morning. Now I got a Wonder Woman Hot Toys Wonder Woman this morning, and it's actually my first Hot Toy in quite a few months now. And because I've just kind of slowed down on Hot Toys and actually stopped making kind of interesting stuff. The last kind of interesting figure they made was like Batman Forever and a couple of others, but they tend to stick now. It's always Marvel, it's always Star Wars with Hot Toys, but occasionally they'll boot out something really special, and this new Wonder Woman's a bit special, so I had to kind of get her kind of thing. But what I'm most eagerly anticipating now is like the next wave or the first lot of Cosmic Legions. I'm really super excited to be getting those. And there's a couple of Masterverse figures on the way now as well. So I'm really excited to get the Sorceress. I just got Many Faces. So I got Many Faces at last, and he's superb.
Great figure.
Here now. This is a $29 action figure. And you get all his faces. I'm not sure why he gets masks because of that thing, but he got his faces anyway. And he comes with his guns. And he's just got lovely, shiny plastic to him as well. And then on the same day, I got Stratos. And Stratos, that's a big-ass, bulky figure for $29, man. And he comes with all the accessories, all changeable hands. And it's just a really solid, chunky figure.
Yeah. You know, I love that breathing mask, you know, that gives him,
It's really cool, isn't it?
it gives him like a beak kind of look.
It does. It's just interesting. I tend to buy the Masterverse figures either A, if I did the box packaging for them, obviously, but B, if I feel it's a new enough update to what I already have. If you have classics and you have the vintage and you're collecting origins, the idea is that I try to collect this. If it looks substantially different from what I already have on the shelf, I'll be buying it. And I think that's a good way. So now we got like a new Buzz-Off coming for Masterverse. Like, I can't wait for that Buzz-Off because he just looks really cool, that Buzz-Off. And I think Terry and the guys now are really finding their footing now and kind of give us a nice update. Oh, you've got him already.
I got him already.
Oh, nice, man. He's a good figure, dude.
Yeah, he's great.
And he, again, $29 for, look at his wings. And he comes with an axe and a helmet as well. That's $29 per figure, man.
Yeah, I know. It's fantastic. I actually have put a review online already, an unboxing and a review for this figure. So I'll send you a link after the podcast. But it's outstanding. It's the best Buzz-Off yet, and I'm not blowing.
He's really, really, really nice. I like my 2000 X Buzz-Off as well, but I thought that pushed. He was too insectoidy. I thought he was a little bit over designed. Whereas this one's just, he's more like a bug man, back to being a bug man again. And I quite like that. I know the silliness, but we're old school, aren't we? We like it.
And the articulation is great, and it's just it's funny. I know you have a fantastic sense of humor, so hopefully you'll find this funny, Eamon. My first experience with your podcast was actually the Hot Toy Cast was a few months back, and I had never listened before, but perhaps on Twitter I saw that you were having both Pixel Dan and Ted Biaselli on at the same time. And they were guests.
Great podcast that day. Interesting side note to that very podcast on that very day. That very morning, about 3 hours before the recording of that podcast, I was lifting my Razor Crest box in a very awkward fashion, and my bicep tendon snapped off my forearm.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
That very morning. But we went to the hospital and everything, the emergency room and everything. Oh, yeah, it's gone. You're going to have to get blah, blah, blah. You're going to have to get cut open. It's going to get pulled on and reattached. Okay, great. And I had all that. And then I went home and I was like, will I do the podcast with boys? Now, Dan, I don't know. Dan, I just hurt my bicep. What am I going to do? Should we do it? And Dan was like, well, I'm up for the viewer, but I'd say rest your arm, dude. And Ted was the same as well. But then we ended up recording the podcast, and I'll tell you what, it ended up being one of my favorite recordings ever. We had a hell of a time. It was brilliant. Ted is great, and Dan's just a pro, dude. Dan's just a pro.
I was laughing because I was like, not only does Eamon design toys and does artwork, but he works out with toys. He lifts heavy toy boxes, and this time he had a workout injury.
Dude, it was ridiculous, really. And it was to get my Razor Crest box and to pull the proton gun under it, because I just had got the proton pack. And I was just lifting like this. And I think what happens is a lot of us dudes in our 40s still think we're in our 30s, and we think our biceps are really strong, but we forget that tendons are not as strong as biceps. And I lifted like this and just really rammed my arm into it, and but still, hell of a podcast, and the two boys were amazing.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Let me check this out. But this was my first experience, and because of your elegant font you used in your podcast, and the words being so close together, no spaces between the Hot Toy Cast. Instead of seeing the Hot Toy Cast in my eyes, I first saw the Hoity Toity Cast. But then of course, my brain corrected and I saw its proper title. But when I first started listening, I heard this classical music. And then I read the tagline, high-end action figures for the high-end humans. And I was like, uh-oh, is this actually a hoity-toity podcast? But then I listened, and you were so pleasant and wonderful and engaging and entertaining. And I just fell in love with it. So I recommend any Masters of the Universe fans to check it out, if you're a collector of 6-scale figures or not.
Yeah, and occasionally, of course, I'll indulge, because we had a whole bunch of Mondos. I've had Mondo a few times as well, and it was just, we'd had a whole bunch of new Mondos out. Dan and Ted are mad nerds like I am as well. It's nice to just it's nice to pull really good high-end dudes for a high-end podcast to talk about high-end figures. So, you know,
high-end humans.
High-end humans. I picked the high-end humans, you see.
Speaking of Mondo, by the way, that podcast that you had with Dan and Ted made me very nervous. Because I previously had enough willpower to resist the temptation of buying the new He-Man Mondo figure, which looks terrific, by the way.
Resistance is good.
But I was able to stand strong against it, but I couldn't resist Mondo's Masters of the Universe Revelation Skeletor, which I absolutely agree with your assessment. It's glorious.
And stunning figure.
Yes, yeah, I have it right up there, and I couldn't resist Mondo's She-Ra too, by the way, but that's another story. But on the podcast, I remember Pixel Dan revealing, and you know, come to think of it, I should really make a news story of this on FOR ETERNIA.com. But I remember him revealing that that Mondo was coming with more Masters of the Universe Revelation animation style figures. That it's not just going to be Skeletor. And darn it, Eamon, if those will be 6 scale figures coming out, I won't be able to resist those.
Yeah,
and I'll be in the poorhouse.
It's going to be hard to resist. What I do at Hot Toys is what I decide. Some fans are going to really hate me after this statement. Back in the early 2000s, a lot of us discovered the wonderful glory that is eBay and buying old vintage toys on eBay. Now, back in the early 2000s, you could get vintage toys for very cheap. And I'm on about Rambo's mint in boxes, Centurion's mint in boxes, your Brave Star mint in boxes, and your Black Star mint in boxes. Eventually, I accumulated an entire mint on card set of Black Star figures.
Wow.
And I decided to sell a whole lot of them to get some Hot Toys in, because Hot Toys were coming out. They were coming out with some new figures. And that's how I ended up with a stock of Hot Toys, sold my Black Stars, and then what I do with Hot Toys, and people think I'm very wealthy. Trust me, I'm not. I recycle my Hot Toys. So if a new one, like the new Wonder Woman here on the table, replaces the Batman versus Superman Wonder Woman, which I got using the money from the Black Stars. And also as well, I have that one sponsor as well that sends me a figure every other podcast. So I get a figure there for a sponsorship there as well. So I mean, that's how I'm able to kind of blag and make it look like I'm way more wealthy than I am. Trust me, us self-employed artists, not wealthy.
Someone was going through the figures I have, and some of the classics, like the Filmation style ones I have, are going for $200 and $300 a piece. I have the classics Granomir that I think is around $500, $600 now. So, I haven't parted with him, but I always wonder, once we get a certain age, once that fan moves into a certain age, are they going to start dropping in value? Kind of like the Beatles figures, and Elvis dolls and stuff. They went really high up, but then as that fandom got a senior citizen age, they started dropping in price. So I think there is a window for these things.
I have often thought about that. We are a very specific generation. We were all 70s and 80s born. All of pretty much, I would imagine 90% of the people listening to this podcast right now were either born in the 1980s or born in the 1970s. And lucky to those who were born in the 1990s. And we are of a very specific generation that we're very accepting of certain things. It's like I think I said it before, back in 2002 when they tested out the new He-Man, kids didn't like He-Man's design because they thought he was a nude guy running around. But yet in the 80s, bodybuilding and all these things, flesh was kind of readily on display, and Conan the Barbarian books were on the shelves, Meatloaf album sleeves were on the shelves. Half-naked dudes in loincloths was kind of par of the course. It was the standard back in the early 80s. But as the years went on, that became a little bit more silly and all the rest of it. And we're far more accepting of silly things. We don't remotely blink at the name Buzz-Off, but a kid is going to say, Buzz-Off, that's stupid. And they've got so much more sophisticated now with Cloud and their big swords and the crazy cool designs and all these wayly over-designed things and stuff like that. So we are of a generation, I think.
I wonder if we're all the same. I got into Conan the Barbarian. I got into Frank Frazetta paintings and Boris Halo. Yes.
Vallejo.
And you know, I wonder if we're all like that same sort of, you know, that we like Star Wars, but Star Wars isn't our thing. But this fantasy sword and sorcery genre became our Star Wars, you know, and you're right,
Absolutely.
that is kind of left the lexicon, really,
It has.
hasn't it?
Barbarian fiction and fantasy is very much the years 1977 to 1985. It doesn't go beyond that. You'll find no new real barbarian sword and sorcery after a certain date. Yeah, Masterverse came out in 1987, but that movie was actually delayed. It was meant to come out a year earlier, blah, 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 things like that. And at that, they went more science fiction with the Masters movie and less sorcery. So that kind of tells you where the kind of pop culture thing was kind of heading. You know, we were into a thing with dudes in loincloths when dudes with loincloths was everywhere. It was, again, album sleeves, book covers, movie posters. It was everywhere. Conan the Barbarian comic books were huge. Conan books were huge. Sword and sorcery, Atar, Beastmaster, you know, all these things, Hercules, look for no Hercules, all these things, half-naked dudes running around with big swords. That was our jam, but it's in this little window of about 8 years, from about 1977 to 1985. And we are that generation. Now, whether we're going to keep buying stuff, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, because it's like, you know, always new figures come out, and you'd think like, oh, the Masterverse classics. Oh, we don't need any more Masterverse figures now that we got classics. But you go back and look, as beautiful as they are, it's like, oh yeah, some of that's going to be a bit dated looking though. Yeah, okay, maybe some of the newer stuff is nice. And yeah, it's honestly, it's quite hard to predict that one. I don't know. Are we in a bubble? Basically, is my question. Are we in a very specific little loincloth shiny peck bubble?
You know what I'm concerned about? A bubble. You know what? Actually, let me bench that. So let me just segue, because it involves with you being an artist. But so yeah, before we move on to Masterverse, I'm just curious about Eamon O'Donoghue's origin story as an artist. You know, did you always know you wanted to be an artist, or perhaps the first time you picked up a crayon, you're like, this is my thing, or did it come later for you?
No, I always drew. I was always drawing. I mean, you know, I saw the toy boxes when I was like Masterverse toy boxes at a very young age, and you know, at the age of 7 or 8, and you know, I just saw you were bombarded with art. You were big Battle Cat box. Then the figures came with this amazing comic book art, and it was all art. You were kind of bombarded with, and just that kind of imagery. And again, just the imagery of a warrior with a sword and a monster. It was very potent to me. And or a creature or a castle and things like that. It was just those kinds of colors. It was very potent. And then you obviously discovered the art of Frank Frazetta and Boris Vallejo and all these guys too. And it's again, it's all, you know, I think I said it, and on the Diamond, I did an interview with Diamond, and I think I said like all the stuff was in all the poster shops as well.
Yeah.
You go into a poster shop, it was all half naked dudes with swords and a woman draped over her shoulder around his leg or whatever. That was what we grew up on.
Well, wasn't that even the culture? That was our movie stars: Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone.
Exactly. Yeah. It was. We were bombarded with the big bodies at a particular age, kind of thing. And again, like I said, bodybuilding was huge at the time as well. I think the He-Man figure, the original He-Man figure, comes very much out of the bodybuilding world.
Did you have any favorite artists that you were inspired by, or you know, tried to emulate? I mean, I know we mentioned a few already, but
yeah, it was just people. I mean, Frazetta's my favorite, but as a kid, while I love Frazetta, I did gravitate more towards Boris Vallejo. You know, and I got, I actually even have it out for handiness, and I got this book.
Yeah, I remember that book.
The book that every good fantasy kid artist needs, because it's got boobs in it too. There we go. I got this book in 1981. Look, I even signed it. 1981.
Wow.
I had my own little logo back then as well. Look at that, my own little pretentious logo. When you were 14 years old, you had your own logo. Every kid had their own logo when they were 14 years old. I guess now you call it tag, right?
I was an artist or amateur artist, and yeah, I did the same thing. I had my little sign logo, and I put a little like
little sign. I even had a name, The Extremist. I was like, yeah, I'm dead cool.
You know, it's interesting. Boris was a bodybuilder. I think his wife was a bodybuilder too. I think.
Yeah, his first, the woman that he models in this was his first wife, Doris Vallejo, but his second wife, Julie Bell, has become quite the proficient actress. So she's an amazing artist now. She's kind of come very much on her own different path now and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just, and you can kind of see that in my art as well. You know, I always like it. And if you want to, if you like more Frazetta art, you look at like Nate's stuff. Nate's a bit more Frazettery. He's got that energy and all the rest of this stuff. And me, it's a bit more posy, for want of a better description. And just, you know, I rendered and drew from photographs as a kid quite a lot. So I was always very rendery and shady and kind of realistic and stuff like that. So, and as a result of that, when you try to go more realistic, you end up making more mistakes. So pluses and minuses there, kind of a thing. But yeah, no, I just drew from photographs and bodybuilding magazines, Flex magazine. You used to buy Flex magazine, you know, when you were a silly kid, started lifting your first weights and gained no muscle at all. You wondered, why am I not getting any muscle at the age of 16? Well, I'm lifting these weights, man. I'm not getting any bigger. Turn to those diets. You need to eat more, dude.
Yeah, I was doing that at 13. Yeah, I had I had some sort of, maybe I was a little older, but some sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger book or something like that. I was yeah, it was, and you know, I had all these like workout techniques, and I'm like, I'm gonna look just like that, you know.
Yeah, man. I'll look this by next year. No worries. How deluded we were as teenagers, eh?
Yep. So you know, as an artist, well, everyone I think has their strengths and weaknesses, and artists are no different. Even the journeymen talk about it. So, like some artists can draw gorgeous faces, but like with ease, but they've always struggled with hands like all their life, you know. So, do you have anything that comes easy to you, and its counterpart stuff that you still struggle with?
Dude, I struggle all the time. I beat my art into submission. Seriously, if I showed you a work in progress of my art, like if you saw, like I'm working on a piece now, and it's like if you saw the difference of a 4 hours, what I can do with a painting in a day from how it started off, you'd say it looked terrible, and then but after that 4 hours, it'll look like a proper thing. But I've never any formal art training. No one's ever taught me art. So everything I've learned entirely on my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm the only one around here as well and stuff like that. Really, the only kind of art kind of teacher I've ever had was like getting advice of Emiliano Santa Lucia on occasion. You know, that's the closest I've ever got to having any kind of formal training at all. And I actually need some formal training because I'd be quicker and more efficient if I could. Especially with anatomy and things like that.
That was always my struggle, anatomy.
It's every artist's struggle. And then when you're talking about Masters of the Universe, you're talking about every muscle pops, every muscle shows, and every muscle has to be there, and every muscle has to look right. So it's been a very big challenge trying to get these masters, especially in the first few waves of masters of the Masterverse. It was really hard for me to try to get down the anatomy as well of somebody animated as well, because I had Eddie Nunez doing the anatomy on these things, and his anatomy is way different to how I would draw anatomy, but he understood anatomy way better than I did. So it had that great thing, and it is, once you understand where things join up, if you can visualize a skeleton and you know all those buttons and all those muscles are attached, you're golden. And I'm starting to grasp that, but I've learned that the hard way by literally picking up like great art books like this. That, you want to know anatomy? Get this book, because whoever is illustrating in these knows what the hell he's doing. Like, he breaks everything down, and it's just really great breakdowns of the muscles.
Wow.
And he really understands. And it's like, if I'm stuck in a body part, out pops this, you know. And it's very hard. I mean, I like to think I'm good at faces. I think I can do quite a diverse faces, and I think I put some nice gesture into my characters on occasion. So if you look at my characters, they'll always be something doing with their hands. Evelyn will be doing a gesture or something like that. I try to add as much, because I'm always afraid my stuff is a little stiff. So that's why I try to as much gesture and maybe a coy of the head or raised eyebrow or anything like that into my art and things like that. Because again, it's very hard to do what I do, especially when it's like Ram Man was really hard because he's thing, this big old armor over it, and you kind of got to imagine it and foreshorten it, and it's just really hard. And he's a big oversized dude with massive hands and things like Grizzlor was a pain in the butt. Just because he only has 3 fingers. And just trying to do a dude with 3 fingers, it was surprisingly annoying to do because he had to kind of look at a hand and then remove these 2, but that didn't work right, and it was just weird and stuff like that. But yeah, so Grizzlor was incredible. Buzz Off was lovely because he's got claws. So
yeah.
Nice.
You know, Frank Frazetta always made it look easy, and I'm just an amateur artist, but that's what I always struggled with anatomy. And this was like, I think I once heard that it's good to draw even skeletons first. Just practice drawing the human skeleton.
It's only occurred to me in the last few years that you do your gesture lines, then you do your under skeleton to kind of solid it up, and then you put your boxes and circles over that, and then you attach your muscles to all of that. Then again, I always kind of, in my brain growing up, I'd always just separate it as different disciplines of just anatomy, and I was just like, I'll just draw what I see, and it's like, no. You need to understand what goes on underneath to really kind of get the anatomy. You need to know that the bicep comes down and the deltoid attaches under the bicep, because then you'll understand that it'll curve under and all these things. And I've literally learned all this since I've been just dropped head first into the Masters of the Universe stuff. And it was head first. Because up to that point, I painted a few, beefcakes and stuff like that up to the point. And of course, I'd done some Masters of the Universe DVD sleeves as well for here in the UK and some for entertainment rights as well. But that was all based on Filmation, and you can look at Filmation and things like that. But these Masterverse ones are brand new. You have to go with a brand new look for the character. It has to be dynamic because you really want to sell because you don't want to do stiff stuff like it was in the 80s. You want to do dynamic, actiony stuff because you want to show these characters they're a bit more dynamic now. So you know what I mean. So be it Ram Man or Evil Lyn or any of these kinds of characters, you want to just, for Masterverse, you want to make them a little bit louder than they've ever been seen before. They want to have more movement, more capture, more gesture, more.
So that's a good segue to jump into Masterverse. And actually, wait, circle back to the bubble. One last thing regarding artists, and it feels like we're on a bubble. In regards to, and this is a doozy, artificial intelligence, right? As a professional in the industry, how would you gauge your worry about this industry and the emergence of art created by AI?
I'm not worried in the slightest. This reminds me of the Millennium Bug. Remember everyone lost their shit over that?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Shock, surprise. To be a good artist, you need to be artistic. Typing in words, you can delude yourself all you like. You don't have the brain to really make art if you're using AI art. If anyone who is leaning on AI art as their main source of creativity, then you're just kidding yourself. And the thing about AI art is that only artists know how to improve on the AI art. So I could start with a piece of AI art, but I have the artistic skill to make it better and to make it my own. There's been a new law passed, by the way, where basically, you cannot copyright AI art. You cannot copyright AI art, boys and girls. You catching that? You cannot copyright it. Why? Because it's not creative. Because it's not unique. It's photo bashing of the highest end, and that's all AI art is. It just cobbles everything together that's already been made. Ergo, it can never be unique. It can never have a voice. It can never have real humanity in it. And who wants to read would you read a love letter from a robot? No. If you've got a love letter, I mean, it depends. If it's, that chick from Star Trek, original Star Trek, sure, maybe, fine. But let's face it, you're not going to really respond well to a love letter written by AI, are you? So why on earth you would respond to art drawn by a computer where it's meaningless? It means nothing. But not also that it's artists create art. Hacks can create anything they want, and it'll still be a hack creating something. It won't make any difference, because to understand what the thingy is doing, you have to have an artistic mind. I'll be able to use AI way better than any other prompt engineer, they're called now. Get out of here with stuff. Whatever, man. Just you do you. Us artists over here, we'll keep doing our thing. Rock on with that, whatever 10-fingered 6-pack guy you have going on there. Off you go. Good luck with that.
All right. But that law you mentioned is genius. So that's in the UK? Did they just pass that?
I think it's going to be in the US as well, but I do believe some European countries already have already. So I think it's already the case in Italy. You can't copyright AR. How can you copyright anything that's made using everyone else's stuff that's already been made illegally? It harvests everything to make something, and you have to. It has for AI art to be registered as copyright. For you to copyright anything you create in AI, it has to be substantially altered. And you need artistic skills for that. You want to be an artist, go learn to draw. It's very simple. It's like vocoder, isn't it? It's like the auto tune on music. You hear that, you know that dude can't sing. You know, you hear Cher using it. We know Cher can sing. But all these people coming out there now, you know, you can tell that they don't have any talent. So but they make money, and they may make their money, they may be a flash in the pan. But has any auto tune besides Cher's "Believe in Life After Love" ever actually gone on to be a big song? No, it may be a flash in the pan, but that's it. Anything that lasts is good, and nothing AI is going to create is ever going to last.
You know, I wonder if someone's going to come up with a hybrid where they do the actual character concepts and designs, you know, the profile, looking from the front, looking from the back, and then have AI create a comic book, right? Time saving, right? I wonder.
It can. I would potentially use AI on maybe like helping me to create a couple of backdrops for a very specific kind of broader concept work. It'll be kind of handy for knocking up a couple of backdrops, but I have the artistic skill and integrity to change and alter it enough to make it mine. Hacks do not. That's the bottom line. Artists will always know more than a person who doesn't know art. We will always make it better. And if you want to put an artist on AI, you want to put an AI engineer on AI, who do you think is going to do a good job with the AI? The artist will, because he's going to know what to say. He's going to have the creative mind and know what to change. Most hacks are just punching in a couple of prompts, and they're just getting lucky. But I can punch in the same prompts, and someone else can bang out the exact same piece of art. So you can't own something that was never yours to begin with, because it's art is for humanity, man. You know, it's by humans, for humans, about humans. You know, I think it's a very vapid person who thinks who thinks differently to that. But there might be the kind of people who really like modern pop music and auto-tune on their modern pop music too. So,
all right,
people now hate different things. Wait till we get into the Revelation cartoon. Oh, hey!
I'm sorry for setting you off. So let's go to Masterverse now. The topic at hand. And to make this podcast accessible to everyone, anyone who doesn't know exactly what Masterverse is, back in 2020, Mattel announced a new collectible action figure line titled Masterverse, with the tagline called The Evolution of He-Man. And these Masters of the Universe figures were promised to have all this like state-of-the-art aspects, like 30 points of articulation. And the first wave debuted the summer of 2021. And now there's currently around 60 figures to collect. And almost every figure, excluding like the Virgil Abloh releases, came with two original pieces of art adorning its packaging. So Eamon, take us back as a Masters of the Universe fan. You know, how did you score this job of a lifetime?
Well, I'd already been doing some work for Mattel before that. I'd done some stuff on the DC Superhero Girls. So I had done some stuff for that, and I had already done some Masters Universe stuff already for classics. I did a She-Ra standee for her 30th anniversary, and I did that all toy lines must end banner with the eagle dropping all the weapons behind Soar, dropping the weapons and stuff like that. So I've already done stuff for Mattel already, so I was already on their radar. But I think you know, they had me in the girls department kind of thing, so I eventually made sure I got my art over to the boys department, and I just had it was just perfect timing. because they were just launching Masters. Origins was kind of kicking off, and I was told that we're doing a new Masterverse line of highly articulated figures and stuff like that. And the first one right out the door was Mossman, and I don't know how much I can or cannot say, but he was originally going to be an exclusive, and we did a whole bunch of things like that. But then it changed, and it became like the standard retail figure and stuff. And it was myself and Roy Juarez. We literally sat down and we hacked out a whole bunch of plans and ideas, for this formatted packaging. Now, I know a lot of people were dead set against this stuff because they were used to these big exploding rocks. But me and Roy we were looking at, what Hasbro were doing with the Black Series and Marvel Legends, and we were just seeing that, this having a standardized box seems to be what adult collectors want, and having a cool piece of art on the side, it's kind of cool. It's just this kind of character piece on the side where the head is the same size and all the stuff formatted. It's me and Roy, we sat down, we worked all the stuff out, and we were like, should we just do one illustration from the back, or we do two? And we were like, let's do two. It's a bit nuts. We went for two, but it's stuck, and people seem to really love it. And we just kind of started from there. Really, Mossman was really the first one. Then after that, then it was He-Man, Skeletor, and then all the rest of them kind of thing. And we got in Eddie Nunez gave me a little help as well on some of those earlier ones as well. You can kind of tell it on some like the He-Man thing. So Eddie Nunez would kind of go in and correct my line work and get it looking very much, because I had no access to the cartoon. I was given a couple of style guides. I had no idea, and then I just took a wild guess.
So I didn't realize you were actually helping design the packaging. I thought you were just handling the artwork itself, but I didn't know you were actually working with Roy, plotting.
Yeah. We sat down and we hacked. I mean, Roy had always the template down, and he had the idea that it was always going to be this flip thing, and he always wanted the castle, the Pie of Power Grayskull in along there, and he wanted to always be like rocks, but like a slab of rock. And these ruins were created by the animation studio, so we just kind of wanted to incorporate that kind of into it. And they were just new ruins for, just for the brand, and just be used as patterns and stuff. And they just wanted to incorporate that, and that's all we did. Really, we went through many different rocks, many different colors. But I ended up just hand drawing some rock, painting in some cracks, and we overlaid this on top. And we went through a few little color variations. We just landed here because it was just simple. A little bit of blue. The previous boxes were always red. We decided to go blue, but I guess the Masterverse box is now kind of going back to red again with the when they did the anniversary ones and stuff like that. But yeah, you're kind of going in there blind. Like, I took a guess that King Grayskull was going to actually do something like that in the movie, that the sword or the show was going to be split on that. So a lot of the stuff that I was thinking was going to happen in the show was serendipitous. It was like, oh, I think this will happen, and sure enough, something like this did kind of happen, kind of a thing. So it was just, it was just really, really, really cool to get characters and to kind of guess, like Savage He-Man, for instance. I was given nothing, but I was like, I bet you he's just going to go savaging everyone, and is he going to be up against some royal guards? And sure enough, I did a pose where he was getting shot out with loads of blasts, and it just fit. He was like, yeah, he is actually getting shot by royal guards. I was like, yes, brilliant. So it worked out quite nicely in a lot of those ways as well.
You had mentioned about the two art pieces, which is amazing that because you guys could have easily opted for a single piece of artwork per Masterverse figure release, and fans would have still been over the moon. You could have repeated it, on the spine, but have the full artwork on the back. And but you guys really spoiled us with two, and it really wasn't necessary, but it was so wonderful,
you could argue that it's a little bit overkill and stuff like that, but I just think the idea, was that we want to make, it's been a while since these characters have been in kind of retail at such a high end, and it was new. It's new. We want people to be excited, and the idea was that we wanted to show the character in full action on the back, but give a kind of a beauty shot on the side. So the characters posing for a photograph on the side, literally posing for a photograph on the side. On the back, they're in the middle of the action, and that's kind of the format we kind of went with and stuff like that. I keep looking at the light up here. I should be looking at the camera here. I keep light up. So yeah, and that's where we went. The character is literally posing for a photograph, like Orko's taking a photograph, and that's kind of the idea of the side. Literally, the character is posing striking a pose because they know they're actually being photographed. Whereas we wanted to have the action sequence, full power, showing the display of power on the back. So that's kind of what we wanted to show. These characters are iconic. These are big archetype characters, and all these other things, new fantasies that are much more sophisticated, come and go. But these are the archetypes. You know, this is the quintessential Ice Princess, after all. You know.
You know, and it's so great to display. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I have like the spines out on many figures, like way on top. And
that's cool.
And so many fans just have them displayed that way. Like they don't even take them out of the packaging, and they just have the spines of the artwork on their shelf, and it looks brilliant.
Reference the figure for the art. It's like, oh yes, I think I'll take out Man at Arms today. It's nice. It's a nice thing to be able to do. I like that format, and I think it gives options to collectors. If you want to collect your figures in a more kind of bookish way, then you've got that angle. If you want them to collect and loose and flatten your boxes down, you get that angle too. If you want to just cut out the sides and save it up for a big scrapbooky thingy, you got that. So I think it's just nice to give a nice variety of you know, just give collectors all the and that's why we went for resealable box as well, you know, to make that collector friendly, so you can seal them easily back then. You get because it is lovely being able to, for me personally, I love being able to like have a figure that I can reseal again. And every time I go back, I get that lovely feeling of opening it again, kind of thing. I love that. I
love that too. So can you tell us a little more about that collaborative effort with Eddie Nunez? And I guess that went on maybe to, was it Triclops maybe?
The last one I did with Eddie was King Grayskull. And I say, you know, and it's basically what it is that I sketch it. I have my idea of how I want the layout to be. I know the pose I want, and I would sketch out the pose and all the rest of it. And Eddie then will literally correct my artwork and kind of go over. I'm not that stopped afterwards. So once King, that was the last time we did that was King Grayskull. So Evelyn and all those, all onwards, that's all me and stuff like that. But just for those first few figures, we just got Eddie in to get it really on model, because try as I might without any animation, it was going to be very hard for me to really get it exactly on model. And right. We wanted that. We just didn't want standard He-Man illustration. We just didn't want a standard He-Man on the side. So I'd come in and I'd sketch out He-Man doing his pose. I'd have He-Man running with the sword, and then Eddie would come in and bulk him right out and give it the Eddie shapes. And then I'd paint over that then again. So it's pencils by me, then Eddie, then painting by me again. So it's kind of like that kind of thing.
Was Mattel involved too? And what I mean is, I guess it's involved with creative freedom, but you shared some grayscale concepts. I believe it was on Instagram, and it actually had notes that someone left you, and they seemed like micromanagement. And like I recall, you shared a grayscale He-Man from Wave 1, where He-Man's in this like Conan the Barbarian like pose, and he's gripping the power sword, you know, with both hands, and in front of him the note said, "Please rotate sword, yes, you know, a few degrees, right, to the right or to the left." So that seemed like very well micromanagement. I don't mean it that way because there's some negative connotation to that word, but was there that degree of scrutiny, to at least in the beginning?
Not honestly. Skeletor was a bit more tricky because we didn't know whether he had a sword or not, and we wanted the staff in the picture and things. So I went through quite a few iterations of that Skeletor pose to kind of get it right, kind of thing. So yeah, the first few were definitely, because they were so precious. Mattel, you know, this is the new big thing. They wanted to be just right. Right. And yeah, it wasn't one or two occasions where they were pushing, and we really needed to get that and things like that. But the good part about it is you have artists like, you know, Nate, myself, Axel, and Simon. We're huge fans of this brand, and we know these characters, and so we kind of know what we're doing. Sometimes, you know, 6 times out of 10, maybe, you know, they will have a specific idea, but other times they won't. They'll say, "Oh, come on, can you come up with something?" For instance, like Buzz-Off, for instance, Stratos. You know, but they're specific in that he must have the mask on, he must have this on, I must have the thing is kind of thing. But we want just a kind of a shot. So sometimes they'll really dictate you exactly what they want. Other times then let loose, and I'll come up with a couple of sketches, kind of thing, and then they'll pick the sketch that they want, kind of thing. So yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, but most of the time, 9 times out of 10, we usually do 1 or 2 sketches, and it's usually the first sketch usually gets the okay, and we'll go from that. So I think Faker, we did a bit of jiggy pokery with Faker because we wanted him to look quite menacing. And so we kind of had to hunch him a little bit more and things like that. I'd looking a little bit more stoic, but we kind of wanted him a bit more horror and stuff like that. So and Roy was quite specific what he wanted for the Horde, for instance. He wanted the Horde to be very horror-like. And that was cool. So like I'll post it sometimes. So like my original sketch for Shadow Weaver was actually her commanding a squadron of Batmechs. So she was like, there's a whole bunch. She was pointing forward, and the big load of Batmechs are just flying behind her, just like loads of them. But Roy's like, no. I want her to be much more horror-like, and we did that. So and fans love the horror thing. So that's an example there, like where I would have done something that Roy picked something that was maybe a better idea, kind of thing. So that's how it goes, and it's great fun. It is good fun. And on occasion, then it's like, oh, well, the character might not do this. And it's like, we'll go back and forth. Would a character do this? Will we do that? Yeah, okay. No, post them like that. So if the character is a bit like that. And, it's great fun to be talking every day about characters that you love. Yeah. You do get a bit of burnout, especially after a few weeks of intensive work. Like at the moment, I'm really, nuts deep into heavy duty Masterverse work. And it's like, whoa. It's a bit overwhelming at the moment, but once I get through the other side of it, next week it'll be great. And I'll be look back and it's like, oh yeah, we did that. Seriously, wait till you see what we're doing. There's some really cool stuff happening. You ain't seen nothing yet.
So, all right. With that, I mean, in regards to the time frame, right? Like how soon do you get work? Like you're working on Masterverse figures now, right? How soon do you get it in the project before the figures release? Say a wave is slated for December. Let's just throw that out there. And when would your assignment be due, roughly, approximately, if it was like coming out, hitting shelves in December? Are you working on it?
Things are getting increasingly tighter. So things are getting increasingly tighter. So I can actually kind of tell you if I look at my files, if I can look at the creation of the Buzz-Off file, for instance. So Buzz-Off is just in stores now, right? You are one of the first people to actually get Buzz-Off now. So he is officially hitting stores this week. So that's a good example. So let's have a look at when I created Buzz-Off. Many faces. Buzz-Off came before Many Faces, didn't he? He did. Roboto, Frosta.
Well, Frosta, I think I got in hand in December, actually, of last year. So Frosta could be a good example.
Okay, Frosta's a good example. Okay, Frosta's a good example then. I would have finished Frosta. I would have finished Frosta in June or July.
Okay. So we're talking really half a year.
Like about 4 or 5 months ahead of schedule, kind of a thing. Which is cool, and again, because if you see and the windows aren't getting tighter, so like the movie figures, were quite close to like literally in like a couple of months I'd done the art, I'd seen the boxes, like, oh wow, okay, this kind of thing. So I think it depends sometimes on the figure, because I think the movie figures had a different approval situation going on, because obviously they're based on a movie, not just Mattel stuff there, kind of thing. So I think the movies were a little bit different. That's where a little bit, generally speaking, it's about 6 months. Give or take.
Do you get to, let's just say Frosta. We're talking about Frosta here. So 6 months before, what kind of packet would you receive like now? I mean, I understand in the beginning it was a little different, meaning do you get a shot of the prototype of the figure?
Yeah. You get full 3D renders of the prototype. And sometimes, you see earlier versions of them and stuff like that as well. And sometimes the prototype may change from the final thing and stuff like that kind of thing. So yeah. But yeah.
So some of them must blow your mind. Sometimes you're like, "Whoa, they're working on this now," kind of. Well, actually,
getting the movie figures, man, that was a feather in my cap, to be honest. I was, I'm delighted. I'll draw any Master Universe you want, and it was an honor to be doing the Masterverse stuff, and but then to get the movie stuff, I'm like,
I know you're. Look,
I'm a big fan of that movie, but I love it. It's not Masters of the Universe, but it's a Masters of the Universe, and that's why I like the movie. It's a version of Masters of the Universe. It's not our version, for God's sakes, much to our annoyance, but I've just grown to love that thing over the years, and I do very much appreciate it. And then designing or doing the boxes was brilliant because it was there's a lot of work went into the pre-production of that movie. It was a really ambitious movie had it been fully paid for. I'm telling you, man, had Canon not flipping being gangsters like they were, that movie would have fared a lot better because it was a far more ambitious affair, and they literally just how he managed to make a movie with what he had was an impressive enough feat if you actually do look at it. But anyway, I digress. It was just a joy to be doing the movie figures. It was a total joy to be doing them, and it was Roy's an idea to do a lovely big kind of gatefold where like one character runs into the other and stuff like that. So and
I'm a big fan of that film too. I had Richard Sponder, Pig Boy, on this podcast for the 35th anniversary of Masters of the Universe, and he's just a joy to.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a good lad.
On the Battlecast, right? You had him on, but yeah, I love the film too, and I wasn't certain with it at first. It's like Skeletor doesn't sound like Skeletor, and where is Battle Cat and where is Prince Adam, and things do not look like Filmation. But now, as an adult, I've grown to appreciate it, especially that there's even more interpretations now of He-Man. It's not just the mini comic, but we got the regular.
Yeah, exactly. Our brains are a little looser. We can understand this as better as adults and all stuff like that. But I mean, we could sit here and question Bill Stout and like, why? But we go back now, we actually look at those things, and there's a bit of thought behind it. They were trying to make their own kind of big fantasy movie. He-Man's crest, it's not the Iron Cross, but it's a dragon. What does that mean? That's flipping cool. And you go down to He-Man's his leg grease and his cuffs, and there's like a medieval pattern, but then there's a bit of technology. And there's a lot of thinking going on there and things. And you actually look at some of the backdrops for the movie, and you see all these gods along the Grey Skull walls and all these things. It's a really nice combination of science and technology in that movie. And I thought you go back in that movie and it's full of beans and it's full of heart, that movie. And I think it really captures a vibe of Masters of the Universe. That's really nice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a delight to be doing those figures. And the figures came out great as well, except for the head.
That's what I was just going to lead to now. Regarding the 1987 movie He-Man figure, while not fully reproducing actor Dolph Lundgren's likeness, your artwork, your portrayal of the movie did have an actor Dolph Lundgren likeness vibe, but the figure's two heads, not even close. So can you provide any insight in regards to the rights situation, maybe why they couldn't reproduce?
I kind of can't go into that. I know a little bit. All I just know is that some actors' likenesses are a little harder to get than others, and I think I think it was more like a cautionary measure at that point, because I think there was just a few bumps in the road kind of thing of the likeness. So I think that was just them playing it safe to be fully on the safe side, but I can't really go into any much more detail than that. But when I was painting it, my painting was I was going to make it Dolph-esque. So he's a bit like Dolph, but not photographically exactly like Dolph. But he's Dolph-esque. It was kind of a safe bet because I didn't know where they were going to land. So I played it safe, and I just said, well, we won't make him exactly like Dolph, but I'll give him Dolph vibes. So we'll make sure I give him that good jawline and give him that nice high cheekbones that Dolph distinctively has as his version of He-Man.
And I love how you could put those Skeletor and He-Man boxes together in the back, and it makes one entire setting. It's so fantastic. I know you're not going to be able to answer this question, but is there any chance we'll get more movie figures than just the iconic He-Man and Skeletor?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Darn it. You can't blame me for trying. So
I value my job.
Okay. So let's do this. You chomping at the bit. Yeah. What? You're making a He-Man and Skeletor? I want to do that. So let's talk about selection process. In addition to you, there's other great talents, which you mentioned a few names like Nate Barsh, Joseph John Sakade, Vincent Wang. So how is the work divvied up between you guys? Do you guys get to pick from a lot of figures and go, oh, I want that one, I want that one? Or does Roy kind of say,
no. It's just, there's so much work to do. There's not just a lot of work to do. It's just who gets to it first, basically, whoever's available, I think we got Simon Eckert now coming in now, and you're going to, and his stuff has been absolutely lovely. Like his New Adventure Skeletor has been absolutely lovely and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. I was lucky to get the movie figures. I hope I get to do more movie figures, kind of thing. But if I'm put on a new Eternia figure, or I'm put onto a Revelation figure, I don't mind, man. I'm happy now. I'm getting Masterverse work, and I'm just happy to be doing whatever. So obviously, there's like, oh, I would have loved to have done that one. Oh, it's you're obviously there's going to be a bit that, but it's all good, man. It's a good buffet, for all of us all creators to be eating from and stuff. So yeah, it's not really, there's no real preferential treatment or anything like that. That's not as far as I'm aware anyway. And it's just, we're all hopefully good artists, and we're hopefully making fans happy, and we just do what we're given, and we do it with a smile.
Okay. I just had this like vision of you guys like fighting behind the scenes. No.
No.
Or I'll trade you one buzz off for one,
Yeah, no. It's because we work at different paces and stuff like that, and things, So it's like, for instance, like I did an Origins, I did the Sunman box.
The Sunman, the trio, yeah.
So there you go. And it's because there's so much Origins work to do. Clearly, I had to cover a little bit of time there and make up for a little bit less time, kind of thing. And that's just the way it is. There's a lot of work to do, and there's a roster of artists there now, and that has increased. So it's just whoever gets to the projects first at this stage now, kind of thing. Obviously, I think Francesco and Axel, they get and Nate, they primarily get the Origin stuff and things like that. So, and then myself and Simon will be doing the Masterverse stuff, and Vincent as well. So there you go. So yeah, I don't mind it. I'm all good. I'm very, very, very satisfied work-wise with whatever I get. I would like to maintain and keep doing the movies, though. I will categorically say that. Whether they choose to do that, it's up to them. But I hope I keep doing the movies, because I think I did a good job, and I think fans liked it too. So hopefully I'll continue to get the movies done.
Roy knows that, right? It's like, yes. I would love to do the movies. If there's any other
movies, I do love doing them. It's just,
and you know what, I
challenge.
I want a Pig Boy. Either in Revelation style or the movie style.
And again, he's a well-designed character. You look at him, and it's like he's got this lovely long garb that's got symbology and symbolism and all over the place. It's just, you get in there, man, and like, look at some of the designs. Even Tila in her little onesie suit. You get in there and look at the stuff on there, and it's like, oh, well, there's actually some Viking motifs and leaf stuff going on there. So there is nuggets from her original design in there. It's just, they gave her a grey leotard for some reason. But I look at that Tila now, and she's like, whoa, actually, she's pretty smoking hot, that Tila in that movie now. As a kid, I was like, why isn't she redhead? Why doesn't she have the rosy cheeks like the Tila in the cartoon? And I was like, who's this brunette chick?
Yeah.
Now I look at Chelsea Field in a whole new way with grown man eyes. I'm like, oh, she was very hot, in fairness.
Well, yeah, even back then, with Skeletor, I was like, why isn't he saying, you bumbling boob? But now I love the alpha and the omega. And
absolutely. I mean, I never liked the bubbling boob stuff, because as a kid, I read the mini comics for about a year and a half before I saw the cartoon.
Okay. So
I had a particular voice of my Skeletor in my head already. So when the cartoon came out, I was like, oh, he's very shrieky. Okay, that's the way it is then. And that's what I was. Yeah, I had a very wispier voice in my head as a kid. And I think a few fans like who grew up in the mini comics, well, you'll hear them saying the same thing, because the speech bubble, his words, his dialogue was different at the different font from the other characters. He sounded specifically differently from the others. So I always managed to be kind of a wispy, raspier, kind of ghostly voice.
Yeah. I did hear actually, now that I'm thinking, that you weren't necessarily a Filmation guy, where I was like raised on, Filmation was the fandom that, is shoulders my fandom rests upon. So
I love Filmation as an animation studio. I mean, Brave Star to me is magnificent. I recently, only this year, saw the full Flash Gordon animated movie, and that is magnificent. It's on YouTube, by the way, kids. It's not the best quality, and it's got some odd subtitling on there. But my God, watch the Flash Filmation, the full Flash Gordon animated movie, man. It is superb. It's great action. It's dark and it's broody and it's it's quite violent, actually, so it is. I love Filmation, so I do. But I will always question the logic of, you got this cartoon, it's a dude with a battle axe, and you just have been chucking a sword the whole time around. And it's like, what did you think you were making here? And it's just, there was just too many corners cut. I literally know that's the Filmation style, but I love Filmation. They are a great American studio. Their quality of their drawings is superb. The quality of their background paintings, superb. Amazing people have come through. So I'm never going to knock Filmation, but when it comes to He-Man, there was just a few things that I'm just like, really? The buttons on his harness were too much for you. Were they? Really? Come on. And then that stupid hairdo. That's the figure.
Come on.
The figure didn't have that hairdo. That's not the figure. And you saw Filmation's early attempt at animating He-Man, where he didn't have that silly hairdo. He had a proper good kind of
the commercial.
Yeah, the TV commercial. You saw what Filmation could do if they wanted to. So I understand why they didn't, but come on, that hairdo and just the buttons on his thing, and it's just really, the buttons on his belt are too much, lads, lazy or what? So but
it's not as bad as there was a Spider-Man cartoon where I remember they only gave netting to his head, and the rest was just colored.
Exactly. Ralph Bakshi was notoriously flipping lazy. So, but I love Filmation. I'm going to hopefully watch, I'm actually going to see if I'm going to hack my DVD player to see if I can get it playing my Brave Star BCI Eclipse Brave Star DVD, because the Brave Star motion picture to me is magnificent. I think it's one of the finest bits of American non-Disney animation out there. It really is special, the Brave Star animated movies. This is what I do love Filmation. I think when they wanted to, if they my God, the Lord's work is what Kevin Smith would say. They're absolutely brilliant. Again, especially like Brave Star. And go back to watch that Flash Gordon animated movie, man. It is dope.
No, I did actually catch that years ago. Yeah, so I'm with you recommending that. It's been a long time, but I remember, and there was some rotoscoping in there too. And
there's rotoscoping in Brave Star as well, but it's just done really well. Like they've really got their technique down, and they're not beholden to it.
Yep. So I've been a big proponent for some figure companies put the artist's name on the bottom of the box. They actually give a little credit, and I've been a big proponent to get that on the bottom of Masterverse. Has that ever been discussed, or is that something you're comfortable even bringing up, or is just something as a freelance artist you don't discuss, whatever they do.
Yeah, it's their decision at the end of the day. It's really cool that some companies do that, but I'll tell you, it's rare that they don't, and it's the norm that they don't. At the end of the day, people are buying an action figure, and nice art is a nice added bonus. So the real, and again, like the sculptors of the figures aren't, designer, like Terry's not mentioned as the designer on the box or anything like that. So but it's just a company thing. Hasbro don't do it. I just think it's just a bigger company thing, because they want to, companies want to be seen as like an entire entity and not down to individual artists kind of things and stuff like that as well, kind of thing. So it's just the way. I don't mind. Particularly, as I said, I'm just happy to be doing the work in this day and age. Most of us artists, we're just happy to be getting the regular work. That's good work, and it pays the bills, And if we're content all is good. I get my ego scratched by showing off the artwork and saying, "Hey, look, I did it." I get my ego scratched with like doing action figures and design and stuff like that as well, and going out there. So, if this was maybe one job out of the blue, then yeah, please, I need credit. Depends where you are. When you have a lot of work, you're kind of like, whatever, I'm fine, I'm good. And maybe if this was 10 years ago, it's like, oh, I really would love it to get more credit, kind of thing. But no, when you get older and you're just happy to get the work and you realize how tough the industry actually is, then you're just grateful to be getting any kind of work, be it credited or not.
Speaking of credit, though, geez, and what great timing. 2 days ago, the book. I'd be remiss in my duties. That's something else I've been asking for in my unboxing videos. We're getting a Masters of the Universe Origins and Masterverse art book. And how cool is that?
I know, man. It's been absolutely dying for this. I kind of figured it was going to happen. Kind of thing. It was just really lovely to see. I didn't actually find out till Nate's posted, kind of thing. And then I saw two of my illustrations on the front cover. I saw a Skeletor and my Triclops. I'm like, hey, in there. So I have no idea what's in there. I hope like the things like the new Eternia stuff that I've been doing is in there as well. I hope it's not just the Revelation stuff. I hope as much as I'm in the proud of the Revelation stuff, but I just hope there's a lot of me in there. Kind of thing. I know there's going to be a load of Origins, because my God, the body of work for Origins is insane. But I just hope I hope I at least get my sorceresses and stuff like that in there and things like that. I just hope, and I hope the movie artwork is in there. I have no idea what's in there yet.
It'd be neat if they actually included like little artist interviews as well. They did say there's going to be some sort of like interview content or something like that.
There'll probably be some write-ups on the design of the action figures and stuff like that as well. I would imagine it'll be a write-up on the design of the thinking from the designers of the action figures and stuff like that as well. But
So you mentioned sorceress. Let's go to your personal favorites, right? I mean, what would you consider, like a handful, your personal Masterverse favorite artwork creation?
Well, what I'm working on right now is probably the best thing I've ever done. So
Isn't that always the case? Or are you being serious?
No, seriously, it is actually might be the best thing I've ever done. The one that I tell you what, probably one of my all-time favorites, because I just look at it, I'm just like, oh yeah, I painted that. That's Skeletor.
Yeah.
That one. Now, I am so proud of that one. I am so proud of that one, and I'm so proud of this because it's a unique pose. He didn't really do it in the movie, but he does stomp around. And I think Frank Langella hit the gym for the movie, and I know he wanted to run around an awful lot more. And Gary Goddard designed the entire Castle Grayskull set to have them run around. So that's me kind of honoring that notion that they were always meant to run around and do a little bit more on that final action sequences. But as we famously know, they couldn't even put on the lights. So there you go. They couldn't put on the lights. But yeah, this Skeletor, the back panel and the thingy, I'm just super proud of that. I also went in to get really arty nerdy about it. I also employed a new rendering technique where I actually rendered this in grayscale and then dropped color on top of it. I painted this with proper color and paint, but this I actually rendered in grayscale, and then it ended up just being a bit more cinematic when I did it that way. So, if I was to do more Masterverse movies, I'd probably render it in grayscale and do it the shady way and stuff like that. Frosta here is probably one I'm just delighted I even got to do that. I've always had the idea of, my original idea was a little bit more sexually suggestive. He was going to be a lollipop, and she was melting, and she might have been licking the lollipop.
Oh no!
But it was still going to be He-Man, but she was maybe just going to be, but like the lollipop is going to be melting down her fingertips and stuff. So it was a bit more sexually suggestive, but
just a bit.
It is, but this is much more fun. She's got a little ice popsicle of He-Man kind of a thing there, and she's just, I'm just delighted with that, and I just think the rendering on that of that, I'm just very proud of it. I love her pose. I love her skin color. She's nice and warm. I've usually had a couple of bumpy roads with skin color. Sometimes it might come out a little bit muddy or a bit too green sometimes. But I'm just really happy with her lovely warm colors on her. And again, just the fact that she's got the little nod to He-Man there to give it to that nod. Not to try to make her a lesser, but I like the idea of having her the most powerful man in the universe in the palm of her hand. And I just thought that was quite a sweet thing to have. And go girls and all that kind of thing. And just the back of it is I'm proud of that. King Grayskull is one that I really love. I like my All right, my Dark Sorceress. That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
like
and
that.
you said it's a counterpart with Sorceress, right?
Yeah, I don't have the box yet, but if people actually do hold these up together, they won't join up, but she's flying this way with a big bat behind her, and the Sorceress is flying the other way with a bat behind her.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
So there you go. Right, let's line it up on the video. No.
It's a little backwards, but yeah.
Yeah, it's faced the other way. We should reverse it, but if you go over, yeah.
On this video, I'll put in post. I'll put up some images so people can see.
But yeah, just the idea that we wanted to have the two of them mirroring kind of each other. Both sorceresses, here's the pose. Even as going one direction, sorceresses going the other direction. They won't join up. The illustrations won't join because they didn't paint them to join up, but they do mirror each other. And it's just little noddy things like that. And it's such a beautiful, sexy outfit she's wearing anyway. How could I not have fun with that one?
Yeah.
I love doing Battle Cat. The Battle Cat one was great to do. I really enjoyed Savage He-Man. Triclops was fun because I always liked the idea of him being a cool swordsman. I just had him jumping down with his cool sword skills, even though you don't quite see that in the Filmation cartoon kind of thing. So there you go.
Do you have any ones you wish you could go back? It's like something that bothers you. There's
always something that bothers you, man. You like every artist within like 6 months of painting it, you think it's terrible, and you want to go back and repaint it. That's just the way. You just gotta let something go, man. And especially when it comes to deadlines, I could be on a painting for ages. The current one now that I'm doing now is taking me ages to paint, but I've been having the luxury of being allowed to be given ages to paint it because we wanted to get it right. It's special. And we want to get it right. And so occasionally I do have the luxury sometimes of really just knuckling down and really getting it done and refining and stuff like that. But when there's a deadline looming, you just have to let it go, man, and just hopefully if generally speaking, if I'm happy with it, usually fans are happy with it. That's not to sound arrogant, but I know myself as a fan what I like. And there's a few occasions where I was like, hopefully fans like I struggled a bit with Ram Man. Ram Man was hard, but I'm hoping fans liked Ram Man, and it sounds like they do like Ram Man.
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
Ram.
It was a good response.
That's great when that happens, kind of a thing. And because it can be difficult sometimes, these characters, especially with someone, because everything has to be dynamic. It's not just a dude. Right. The side panels are always easier, which is probably why the side panels always seem a bit more confident in terms of my drawing, because the back panels are always have to be dynamic. They have to be the character in an action pose doing something actiony, and it has to be usually at a cool angle. It's always above, or you'll always see the back panels are always from above or below, or there's a cool dynamic angle kind of a thing going on with them. And you start putting characters in dynamic angles, you get foreshortening. You start getting foreshortening, you start getting headaches.
Yeah.
And you start bashing head against the computer screen. Hey!
So this one you're working on now, what you're saying is the best. Could you at least tell us what it is? Could it be? I mean, we know like Prince Adam is coming out. We know Horde Skeletor. They announced Clamp Champ. We know a bunch more that are coming out. I mean, is it one of those, or is it something even beyond that?
Not saying.
Will you be working on?
Good. It's really good, and you all are very, very, very happy.
All right. Will you be working on Revolution figures one day?
I can't possibly comment.
Well, what can you comment? All right, let's circle back to Mondo before we wrap this up.
And we got to talk about Revelation as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, or circle back to Mondo. Pixel Dan said they're making more Revelation figures naturally. In 6 scale, naturally, it's got to be He-Man. I mean, naturally.
I would think so. I would hope so.
You have to have that counterpart. So.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the body because they sculpt. It's a really great sculptor called May Tamatarana. He's the guy who sculpted the anatomy on that Skeletor, and he also is the same guy who sculpted the Sue Storm that I designed for Diamond Select. He's one of my favorite sculptors out there.
And, I saw that Sue Storm with the invisible legs.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Very specific. We had a very specific vision for that, and May absolutely nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. So he's great, and he's able to look at art and really able to translate it which is why that Skeletor looks like he's walked straight out of the cartoon with a narrow waist and everything. And I'm sure whatever's coming next, if it is a He-Man, I'm sure whatever's coming next will look. I cannot wait, because they're beautiful figures, man. That Skeletor with all the different face plates and every jaws are articulated. It's so good.
I love it.
Such a good figure. And if you know, I loved the Revelation cartoon. I didn't think it was perfect, but I loved it. And I just love the designs in it and things like that. I just think they did some really nice work in that. And that Skeletor is a good testament to that.
You know, that Skeletor was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and we're approaching, this year's San Diego Comic-Con. So maybe He-Man, maybe just maybe, the He-Man animation version, Mondo will announce there as an exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. I work with Mondo, but I don't work on any Master Universe stuff for Mondo. I've worked in lots of other stuff.
Okay.
Job over there with the designs there of the Mondo.
So before we wrap this up, go ahead. Tell me about your thoughts of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Give it to me. Go ahead.
Give it to you. Well, I think certain websites are really. Yeah. Teela was going to replace He-Man. She didn't. Teela was going to get a power sword. She didn't. Did you all change your videos after that, getting those facts wrong? You didn't. Because lying is clickbait, and clickbait gets you clicks, and
I don't think they ever understood the lore, Eamon, because me being a Filmation fan, it was episode 2 or episode 3.
Then don't make a video. If you don't understand the lore, don't put out a hateful video with the big, loud, obnoxiously loud text. That's just a flat out lie. Teela did not replace He-Man. Teela did not lift the sword and become the new He-Man, and that's what these YouTube stations and other select sources factually said. And they're still babbling on like lies don't matter, and I just find it hysterical. For a lot of us, He-Man went to outer space. So in a lot of our headcanon, who took over the Masters of the Universe and the Heroic Warriors? Oh yeah, Teela did. In our headcanon, Teela took over for a lot of us in our brain. So having Teela becoming front and center is a fine idea. If you had put it a few more episodes in, though, I think it would have landed better. We needed to see more episodes like episode 1. Full He-Man in full gear doing his best dude impression ever. We needed to see that for maybe 2 episodes at least, not just 1. For them to kind of kill off He-Man at the end of the first episode, I know they probably thought it was daring and bold, which it was. But I do ultimately think that was, you're being a little too ambitious there. You're already doing very ambitious with your overall plot and what you did with Evil-Lyn. That's plenty ambitious already, and that's cool. I like what they did with Evil-Lyn. I think what their whole idea and philosophy, what they did there, about the emptiness of the cosmos and all this kind of stuff. I loved all that. That was absolutely pure Masters of the Universe gold. That was very good. Little lofty for Masters of the Universe. I don't necessarily need big, lofty ideas in my Masters of the Universe. It's Conan for 10-year-olds at the end of the day, He-Man is. And I don't mean that to be littleness, but that's what I fell in love with. And I'm okay with simplicity. If I want complex storylines, I've got Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. If I want simplicity, I watch The Mandalorian, because it don't get simpler than that. Yeah. And stuff like that. So I loved Revelation overall, because I thought the animation was great. I thought the character designs were really good. I thought the voice acting for the most part was really, really, really good. And I liked the idea of Teela things over. There was just a few misburns. I think how Teela reacted was a bit of a misfire. I didn't like that. I just thought, whoa, hold on a sec. You're focusing these people have just lost their son, and you're just talking about yourself hiding a secret. Wait up here, honey. Read the room. I just thought that was a bit of a misfire. But everything else, usually besides that, I thought that was great. A lot of people are silly. She's modeled after a Viking, for God's sakes. Yeah. Read a book. Read a book, people. She's modeled after a Viking. Evil-Lyn, when she becomes goddess, Charlotte Flair, boys and girls. You all don't think a certain way of Charlotte Flair when you see Charlotte Flair, do you? But oh my God, no, those clickbaity channels, because that's what They do. That's all these channels can do. They can't really do anything. It would be endlessly easier to lay down a hate than to congratulate, man. Yeah. And laying down a hate will always be the simpler for simpler people.
You know, I did also see some predictions that Andra was going to be He-Man. And then I saw some explanations why Andra wasn't He-Man is that Kevin Smith quickly changed the animation in the back half, because, you know, there was that separation between the first
came up with this? Are these the same people who like to think the world is flat still or something? Because it's just like, where did you get this? Oh, that's right. You want to think that because you want to get the clicks, because hating something, again, is easier than actually giving it actual critical appraisal. Actually using proper, good King's English to get your point across, it's way harder. It's better to rubbish something. Why do you think all the YouTube videos have got big, loud texts? That's negative. And if you go through these YouTubers and their channels, go look at their other videos. Go look and see what the titles of the other videos are. It's always a negative statement to get the clicks. It's tabloid journalism.
Yeah. You know what I found interesting was with you know, they were saying that Masters of the Universe went woke, but if you looked at the Filmation series, it was sequelizing. It was a spiritual sequelizing. Then that was more woke than any Masters of the Universe Revelation episode ever was.
It's Filmation. Oh, it's because your media that you consume told you it's woke. It's best to regurgitate that, though, than actually think for yourself, I guess. But She-Ra was woke as hell. You know, Orko popping up and saying, you know, don't play with fire, you won't get burned. Thanks, Orko. You know, smart. It was always progressive. It was always, He-Man always talked to you at the end of the episode, you know, doing this is wrong. And, you know, no one batted an eyelid. But people don't think for themselves. They can't. It's easier to be fed rather than to think and feed yourself, I guess.
So I had a friend of the podcast, Tim Sheridan, on. He's one of the writers for Masters of the Universe Revelation, and we did a topic concerning this. And you know, I was just going through some of the examples of how woke Filmation was. Like his mother was a astronaut from Earth before there was ever a female astronaut in the United States. I think there was one in Russia, but you have people from, I forgot what episode, saying that Teela, other than He-Man, Teela is the strongest warrior.
She was. How many episodes of Teela? How many episodes are dedicated to Teela finding her own agency?
Yeah.
Loads of, yeah. He-Man rescued her plenty, but there was plenty of other episodes that focused very much around Teela and her agency. I mean, they forget Erica Scheimer was a staunch, you know, LGBTQ person. She was a big, loud advocate for all this, as was Lou. This was in the 80s and 90s, man, and they never stopped. It was just, I don't know what people are watching. He-Man was always, if you didn't want woke He-Man, you read Conan. That was the way of it. You go read Conan then. He's got all that stuff going on if you want it. If you want to read it that way. Conan is actually way more progressive than people give credit for. Well, I could go into it. But people don't think for themselves, man. They want to, it is easier not to think. It's easier not to actually investigate something. Well, why is that? Or how is that? Or anything like that. You know, it is the spiritual successor. The Revelation was a spiritual successor to Filmation in every sense of the word. Oh, it's not really a sequel. Well, it is. Go and look at Orko's cabin in the second half of the season. Go look at Orko's cabin. There's loads of little nods from the Filmation TV show. The same stuff that was in the Filmation Orko's bedroom is in Orko's bedroom in Revelation. They just, illegally speaking, they just couldn't call it a sequel to Filmation. They couldn't, for legal reasons, call it that because it has to be its own things. And Filmation's gone over it now, so it is a spiritual sequel. How could
and Ted Biaselli came out and said all the episodes count except for a few creative liberties they took. And Kevin Smith said they wanted that first episode to feel like the 131st episode.
Yes, and it does. And it does. Look at Orko and Cringer, the relationship. It's all there. The royal family. It's all there. It's totally a sequel. And when I watched that, you see, and I think that's kind of why I wanted a couple of more episodes with He-Man in it. And I think for those of us who watched a lot of Filmation He-Man, I think we were able to make that adjustment to not having He-Man for a few episodes. I think we were able to make that adjustment because, as far as we're concerned, he's already had 64 whatever it was adventures already that we have already seen. And this is another bunch of adventures and things like that. But it's a big Netflix thing. I love it. I thought it did it with Triclops becoming a cult leader and all these kinds of things. I just thought that was really, really, really cool stuff. I cannot wait for Revelation. I mean, Ted now has been dropping a couple of hints now and stuff like that. There's some cool stuff coming. People need to be a little bit more savvy and stop clicking. Not everything on the internet is true, guys. And it's really shameful that stations can just say whatever the hell they want, be proven totally wrong, and just rock on. But I think we should end up on a positive, though. And not, I don't want to be railing on people too much, but just wait till you see what's happening with Masterverse, guys. There's some stuff coming, and it's not my position to be telling Roy and all the gang at Mattel they're going to be doing and stuff like that. But like another time, we had a video there a while back that was like, the line is dying or something. And
yeah.
Somebody read the memo wrong there, huh? Didn't they? In fairness, and sure enough, people jumped on that band. Oh yeah, that's because it's this.
Eamon, I mentioned to a friend, I didn't even touch that with the 10-foot pole, but I mentioned to a friend, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of collusion behind the scenes where the people saying that, or the person saying that, and then the people fighting against it, like, all generated this behind the scenes. Like, look, think of all the clicks, man. Think of all the views.
We gotta make that money somehow. To hell with doing a real job. Let's do this. This is great. Let's peddle haze.
We need to manufacture a controversy. And I'm like,
we're getting Eternia. We got Snake Mountains on the way for Origins. We're getting an Eternia. Like, seriously, I never had an Eternia. I still have all my vintage collection in perfect condition with all their boxes played with, opened and played with, but all their boxes, anyone who follows me on Instagram can see that I've got all my figures boxed, but played with. And I have an Eternia now for all those vintage. Finally, I have an Eternia, and I can't wait to get it. And I'm not going to go into master stuff because, I don't want to spoil anything, but dudes, trust me, all the things that you think you want are coming. All right, it's all good, dude. All good.
All right, I'm gonna say these, and you don't respond to anything, but please give us a Path 4. Finally, that would be nice. A Pig Boy would be great. I know Sorceress Tila's got to be in the works. You're not saying that, Eamon. I'm saying that. I would love a motherboard. No comment from you, but I know that would have to be a huge figure.
Motherboard would be cool. I mean, I want every single thing that appeared in Revelation. I wanted, because they were familiar but still distinctively different in stylings, and that's why I really want all the Revelation figures, every single character. We just got the big evil Lynn, and like, come on, 6-pack and all. She looks amazing.
She does.
She looks bloody British. Looks like she could take out Hulk Hogan, for crying out loud. I love it. I thought, what's good? Do you know what I mean? I love all that stuff. I thought what to do with Evil was absolutely fantastic and things. And I'm going to watch Revelation start, because I finished off Obi-Wan last week again, just to rewatch it, as you do. And I'm going to rewatch Revelation for a 4th time starting next week now again. Because I love it. And I think just the work that it did. The thing is, you can tell certain things are made to make money solely, and you can tell things are made because of the love of a thing.
Yeah. Masters
of the Universe Revelation is made by people who love it. They got Lena Headey in, and Kevin Smith said, he got her for a good price because she loves Masters of the Universe when she was a kid. And that's all, and that's what this brand really, really thrives on. And you'll see that. On the latest clip, you see it's a Roy on the video and stuff like that. This brand is built on love, man. We love it. And everyone involved with it has got love for this thing. The comics, the TV shows. Let's see what's happening with the movie. My God, what's happening with the movie? I thought that was supposed to be going to shooting this month. We all heard. But let's see what happens there. But it's all done with love. And you look at that film, at the Revelation show, and hopefully Revolution, everyone, Ted, Kevin, all of them, they love this stuff. That He-Man show is done with, clearly written by people who love and knew the material enough to want to change it up a little bit. That's the thing. They knew it so well, they wanted to change it up a little. And that's what I love about it. You can see that. And there, you can see that was the book of Boba Fett made with any love, or was it made as a cash cow? You know what I mean? And it's not to trash anyone who worked on that show or anything, because all TV shows are amazing, because they involve all these people having to agree to do one thing. And getting a whole bunch of people to agree to do one thing at any time in human history is, you get stuff done.
Yeah.
Pyramids. And it's the same thing with certain TV shows and certain modern media and stuff like that as well. And you can tell with Revelation, and that they're made with love. You can tell with some of these ones now that they're made with love. We love these characters and stuff, and that's why I'm proud, so proud to be in the Master Universe family, for want of a better word. Let's go like Fast and Furious on us now. But that's what I love about it. It's lovely to be in a community, in a part of a gang, a crew, or a bunch of heroic warriors, if you will, that are all lovers of this one kind of stripped back sword and sorcery for kids of the 80s. As I said, Conan for 10-year-olds. That's what He-Man is to me. And for us all to love it and to wanting to give these characters weight and gravitas, which what Ted and all the boys did in Revelation. To me, that's just a treat. And yeah, I mean, not everything I will entirely agree with, like maybe the timing of doing that and with the Tila and all that stuff. But the overall plot and the overall thing and how everything came together it's beautiful, man. I just love it. And you're seeing this now with the boxes and all the rest of this stuff. And look how much work goes into each and every box, be it an Origins or a Masterverse. A lot of work goes into these, man. 2 illustrations per box. It's the same with the Origin stuff as well. Francesco and X, they're doing 2 illustrations per box. And and that requires love, man. And to get all those details and all those little things in the background that people like and love and things like that, that's extra work. But we do it because we love this stuff. We love dropping in a turbodactyl in the background. And I'm sure Francesco and Axel love dropping in the little dudes in the background. Nate drops a couple little alien weirdos in the background and his new adventure. All this stuff, it's done by people who love it, and it shows. It does show. So and that's why I love Masters of the Universe even more now than I ever did, because everyone involved in it, we're loving it, and we're not quite in it for the money.
It's a family. It really feels like a family.
It's family, man.
All right. Well said, Eamon. So, and I really enjoyed our time together here, and I look forward to seeing your future work as an artist and a designer. And
thanks, man. I've got to make the site. I'm just a completely selfish note, not Masters related. There's some stuff you all will be buying very soon. It's not Masters, but you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, because if you know my taste, and anyone paying attention to how I like things, I'm making some new things, and y'all are going to be loving it. And fingers crossed you're going to love it now, because it's all me. It's all me, all unique stuff. It's some interesting, some nice stuff coming ways. Cool action figures are coming your way, basically.
I liked your Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff.
That's been great. And there's more to come with it as well. I did a lot of versions. So there's lots to come for Jean-Claude Van Damme as well. There's some other little bits and bobs coming as well from Diamond as well, I think. But there's some particular figures that are coming now that they're hopefully going to be released very soon, and I'm going to start showing them soon. And I'm hoping to have some at my booth at PowerCon. So everyone who's going to PowerCon, go get your tickets, go buy those exclusives, and because they're doing you can buy your formal figures now as well, and a couple of the other all their exclusives as well. The Tweeter Head. I think you can buy these exclusives now to start shipping them now. So get on that. Get your PowerCon. I'm going to get 2 of those formal exclusives, man, because I'm all over those formal ones. And the Tweeter Head Merman Bustle, I might try and get that as well. But I will be at PowerCon this year, thankfully. And come see me. And I'm hopefully going to have a little section of my desk where all my other prints are. That's going to be totally not branded Eamon, but a different brand, a different IP entirely, but an IP you're going to love. So wait for it.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right, sir, do you want to plug any of your social media channels or anything else?
Just follow me. Well, listen to the Hot Toy Cast. The Hot Toy Cast is always there. It's myself, Jeff Parker, and Mike Crawford. They're two old veterans of the toy. I'm a slightly less old veteran, so we do that podcast like once every 2 months when we can.
Yeah, these guys have been doing it for 10 years. So that's
we've celebrated our 10th and our 10th. It was our 10th anniversary and our episode 70 on the same episode. So we've been at it for 10 years now, kind of thing. So we've been long in the tooth doing this, and we have our nice, good listenership and our sponsors and everything like that. And it's just good chit chat. It's not like a rambunctious podcast. We sit down, we review all the latest all the latest like 6-inch or at the 12-inch figures or 1/6 scale kind of thing. So this is the Hot Toy Cast. You can find me in Eamon O'Donoghue on Instagram. Find me at Eamon _ on Twitter, and then on Facebook, then it's just Eamon O'Donoghue. Now, sadly, my Facebook got hacked there over the summertime, so I lost loads of contacts, loads of friends and contacts. So if you're not a friend of me on Facebook, friend me now, please, because if you're not my friend, that means it happened hacked. So I had to make a whole new account. I lost 15 years of memories, man. Contacts, movie contacts, people contacts, industry contacts, everything. So I had to rebuild my thing. So please refriend me again, please, on that. Eamon O'Donoghue, and you'll see me pointing that way.
Yeah, I wish they had a backup for that. I was so sorry to hear that.
I know, man. No one would help me. You could email Facebook. There's no help from Facebook. No one. I could do nothing. 15 years of all my stuff. And it was because somebody hacked my account, put some porn on my thingy. They pulled it, blocked me from Facebook, and then said I had to appeal. But I couldn't appeal if I'm blocked from Facebook. And as a result of that, I've used Facebook less now and stuff like that. Yeah. Facebook has become a bit of a cesspool anyway, kind of thing. So you just had to end up blocking lots of people and removing lots of people from your timeline. And you got to start making your timeline much more peaceful, I find. Anybody posts anything negative or stupid, just unfollow them. You don't have to unfriend them, just unfollow them. And believe me, your timeline becomes a lot more peaceful and less headachy in the morning. And Instagram as well. I just love Instagram because it's just photographs and pictures and stuff like that. So And I tend to post more sketches of my art and my concept art on Instagram as well. You'll find less of my sketches on Facebook. If you want to see more of my art, Instagram is tends to be the place to go.
Okay.
Thanks, AJ. I think I'm chewing you off enough there. No, you weren't expecting me to talk so much, were you?
No, you were great. And I want to thank Eamon for joining us today. And you've been an absolute delight. And I would especially like to thank the community out there for listening and watching this podcast. Now, if you enjoyed this show, please show us your support by liking and subscribing to our streams. And you can also drop us a line via email at foreternia@gmail.com. We love the feedback. And as always, please visit us at foreternia.com for all the latest updates, news, as well as our social media pages on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram that can help you stay up to date with all of our Masters of the Universe, Revelation, Revolution, and Masterverse artwork by the great Eamon O'Donoghue content. So that's it. I want to thank you all again for listening, and let the power return. We'll see you next time. He's got the power.